Hi Instas, how you feeling today? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome too. Check out the description box below if you're interested in a reading with me, and do subscribe and thumbs up this video if you like what I do. Let's make this a jolly, snappy, dreamy one, shall we? We're back, of course, with our Moonwatch series, of course, and the full moon on Sagittarius, um, happening around June 4th at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. And I do have a video on new and full moons, more specifically, if you want to check that out and get more detail on what a full moon is. So what we have here is obviously possibility for electric, fire, explosive, masculine, splat all over the bed type of raunchy, horsey, saggy stuff. Yeah, that's a definite potential for some. The moon will be translating or carrying light from, I think the last major planet was Mars. So from Mars in Leo, and then carrying it across Pallas in Leo and Lilith in Leo, and then Ceres in Virgo, and finally the South Node in Scorpio. So again, touching the nodes before this full moon event. So that's a hell of a lot of Martian and fiery energy brought to the table. It's like, hello, this is a full moon hosted by Jupiter as well in Taurus, and we've also got Jupiter in this interesting sextile to Saturn in Pisces. Jupiter will also be conjunct the North Node square Mars, and the moon, this full moon, will be trining Chiron in Aries. And I normally don't talk so much about like asteroids or smaller bodies, but Chiron is pretty dear to me, and it does fall into the 5 or less degree aspect range with the moon. And I'm going on and about Chiron on my channel, and how Chiron was immortalized as the constellation Sagittarius. So we get lots of overlap there. And what I'm feeling right now is like this is like a full moon for some of kerfuffles, storms in teacups, like fusses over nothing. There's a lot of shaking things off, shaking your hair, especially that which we have like tried to keep alive, but it just kept dying on us. It's like a plant that you've been trying to do everything with, but you know, this plant just doesn't give a frick, or there's just something that you don't know or don't know how to do, and it's brown bread. And this is also a full moon for like rattling your own cage or rattling other people's cages, like getting really worked up about something, again, so small, Gemini, so small, and kind of making a scene as well, or turning it into like a big debate. And we've definitely got the ghost horse spirits and the fire horse spirits and the horny horses racing out under this full moon. It's raunchy, like I said, and it's raucous as well. Parties, of course, for many people, and it's Gemini season, so duh. But also, like, beware of parties is the message I get for some. Like, make sure it's a party or space or whatever with actual people you're actually cool with, who are getting you onto better things or help you actually do your shiz. People that make you, you know, actually feel lush or continue to feel lush. Lots of Taurus energy still going on, right? So it's like, use your noggin, or keep using your noggin, like keep sniffing and seeing, well, is this actually vibes or not? There's also a lot of fortune here for those people trying or needing to escape things. We've got the moon trine Lilith in Leo. Rebellion can work out if and when it has a cause, but even if it doesn't have a cause, it anyway is going to be this typical dramatic, overblown full moon thing. This is definitely like a promiscuous girl era as well. for some. It's often like that in Gemini season, meeting and matching, moaning and pining, and we get a lot of Cancer energy in the air too, with Venus in Cancer heating up in Jupiter's exaltation. And of course, I would also say that this full moon has got that classic streak of potential to have us like eating or drinking way too much, especially as Jupiter has just hit this fixed Earth sign that is Venus ruled and sensual, but that energy is going to last like a whole year. So we'll keep touching on and going deeper into that as Jupiter progresses through Taurus. But also because Jupiter is hosting this full moon, it could be an early inkling for some of us to get ourselves together and maybe have like one final binge or overblow or spill before we slowly are making a change. Now, it's like, you know, if you're like on a diet or some kind of fitness regime or something, and you're going to have a cheat day, people call it a cheat day. It's just about like letting yourself change the language. You know, don't even call it a cheat day. Sit down and just order like the most delicious or like most luxurious thing that you can afford, instead of punishing yourself, and like have a proper cake, not a diet cake, and allow yourself that occasion without that guilt or mistreatment of yourself. And a full moon in Sagittarius can allow us big feeling of freedom and release generally from that which has been much too mundane or too tapped into societal presumptions or expectations. But also at the same time, it can allow us to finally be freed of a trait of ours that has become too base or animalistic. It's kind of like allowing ourselves one last bang because we know our real limits. So those people who do know their actual limits, it can be like that one last chance or bang. And I think people will be fine generally, but maybe one or two people will really overdo it. Another thing I'm getting for this full moon is stubbornly unleashing too fast, too soon, being a bit too keen. But I think again, most people will be okay. There's a lot more good omens around this full moon. And I did touch on this sort of thing in my Gemini season video, you know, the story of the coyote and the river. Also, we can get here with the full moon, which is an opposition, by the way. The sun and the moon are opposed. And there's this curious oppositional dynamic of facts and folly, and chancing upon enemies you thought were friends, and friends you thought were enemies, and harmers you thought were helpers. So that kind of thing can crop up or be realized. And it's also a great time to just celebrate like being alive, like come on, and just kind of like, and just like kind of celebrate the lifeness of all of that, if that makes sense. Like, oh yeah, that's life, you know, cheaters and friends and all the in between. And just kind of like toasting to it in a way that can be this full moon experience for some people. And generally, a full moon in Sagittarius is going to be good. It's going to be a good time to find lost friends, reconnect with lost friends, find lost people, even missing people turning up, or more clues to them turning up. And it's good culminations as well. There are pleasant surprises here, and like making new friends, new sexy partners, or new venturing conversations and meetings. And I think for some, it could be a big success for business people who have that outgoing nature, that drive, and are like at the right event at the right time. And I also feel that superstitions here get stronger and more palpable for some, especially the more sensitive people. It's like you start to read signs that a place or a space is like done with you, and like odd little things in your usual routines will be preempting an interaction that will sort of confirm something that you're going to be very glad you discovered before you made a crazy jump from here to there, or from being single to not single. Like, you're going to be glad you found something out based on following those kind of breadcrumbs, big breadcrumbs. And they could be very funny. Also, this full moon can bring people being deliberately weird, overly cocky, overly impish. This is Gemini opposing Sagittarius, trying to spike the punch and all that stuff. But it's probably because a lot of us are post eclipsing, and Gemini season is a breaking down season, a spicy sort of disruptive light season. So it can just be a big spike of restlessness that is behind it all. But for those who are Sagittarius rising, or Gemini rising especially, and also Virgo rising and Pisces rising, and also anyone with natal placements, especially between 8 and 18 degrees of Sagittarius or Gemini, this is more significant, this new moon for you. And for others, perhaps this full moon in Sag simply marks like a big boom moment, like yes, he got the girl, or yes, she's walking into a brand new office, like everyone's looking at her and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna be here for at least a year, get used to it, bitches. That kind of thing. That's also Jupiter in Taurus hosting this full moon speaking. And there will also be, for some, those like laugh out loud plot twists. I mean, Sagittarius deals with hilarity, and it's good to just embrace it. That like serendipitous hilarity, to follow the ridiculous as well. Cancer is the exaltation of Jupiter, so Jupiter being the ruler of Sagittarius. So there's a lot of wisdom in just laughing things off, like a knowing mother does. You know how a mother just kind of laughs things off in that knowing way. And for some of us as well, this full moon marks like a moment of realizing one last thing. We could also be quite hot under the collar and curious about things that we didn't think we would be curious about. This is like the married straight man who's flirting with the cute guy at the bar, or it's like things that you're saying you're not really into, but at the same time you're kind of there for it as well. And it's Gemini season, so we're like twinning it a lot during this season anyway. And like I said, a full moon is oppositional, so we get here the opposition of fluctuation, that's the moon, and fortitude, that's the sun. And we might have to like choose one or the other around the full moon. And I would finally say to turn to your Sagittarius sun, friends, loved ones, especially. The sun represents our highest fortune, and the Sages in your life will be illuminating big things around this full moon. That's the 2 weeks up to and after as well, by the way. And they have this way often of cheering us up, of like telling us that we're actually doing way better than we think we are. And they complement our smile or our youth or our dimples or whatever it is about you. And they may make us feel like giddy or wanted or cute or youthful or whatever again. So yeah, there's this joy, and I generally feel like it's going to be a fun, upbeat full moon for most people. And also, especially if we let ourselves just love the moment and laugh more and smile and find the hilarity or ridiculousness in things, to not go too deep into the feelings and to not get trapped and like vexed in the mental, but to just again laugh and like to toss your head, flip our hair. You know, there's a lot of that Leo energy, Lilith energy coming through as well, to scoff whatever it is, and like just keep trotting on, and like if need be make like a clear beeline for the exit away from the overly goofy imps. Anyway, okay, bye. And just remember also, Cancer season isn't too far away, and we want to be doing things and being with people and cycles and circles that help us elevate by now. Like by now, we must be in this space. So I think we should be in that space of staying with what and who is elevating us. Yeah, anyway, see yous and happy Freaky Friday. Mwah. Love you very much. Take care, and let me know in the comments how your full moon in Sagittarius experience is. Mwah.